There is a tweet here put out by Destiny Bulletin called, or that states, new Bungie has reportedly canceled the rumored Destiny 3 codenamed Payback project following layoffs. By the way, I want us to get back to gaming. I feel like this has been like the focus for the past 24 hours. Obviously so. I promise you, if you're here for build battle content, like we're going to be getting into build battle content. But as these things unfold, I feel that it's necessary that we talk about it, we cover it, right? Bungie's reportedly canceled Destiny 3 Payback following layoffs. This is from Zahad here, Destiny Bulletin. Let me zoom in right now, guys. Bungie has reportedly canceled the rumored Destiny project codenamed Payback, which many believe to be the next installment in the Destiny franchise, commonly referred to as Destiny 3. Earlier this year, speculation ran high as a leak suggested that Bungie was working on a new Destiny game under the codename Payback. Fans eagerly anticipated the potential continuation of the popular series, hoping for new adventures and expansions within the Destiny universe. However, this excitement was met with disappointment as recent developments have cast a shadow over the project's future. Earlier this week, Bungie made headlines with the announcement of a significant workforce reduction, laying off 70% of its staff, amounting to approximately 220 employees. This decision has left many fans and industry insiders concerned about the company's future direction and the fate of its ongoing projects. First up, hold on, we're going to continue reading this. Was Project Payback ever, I mean, that was never, like, who said it was D3? Where did that come from? That was speculation. It was just a rumor. The internet, streamers, you did. I never said Payback was D3. The only time I've ever said that we would potentially get a Destiny 3 is when Luke Smith said hope 3 times in a tweet. And that was the only time where I was like, maybe it's being worked on. Oh, the guy who leaked Prismatic and the term Payback. No shit. He leaked Payback? He leaked the code name? Okay, all right. So there was a guy, there was a Reddit thread, and this guy was really just nailing everything. He leaked Prismatic before Prismatic was ever revealed to us. He leaked a couple of other things too. And so a lot of people kind of took that thread of his and treated it as gospel, including codename Payback. Now, I don't have the Reddit thread on me right now. I'm just recalling this from memory. Anyways, this guy, whoever it was leaking this information. I guess he was the one that said that Payback was D3, but we never got anything official from Bungie that Payback was ever a Destiny 3. To be quite honest with you guys, I felt like D3 was kind of a stretch if it was being worked on. But let's just continue. Destiny 3 canceled. Adding to the uncertainty, incredible insider Jeff Grubb revealed in today's Game Mess Mornings that one of the projects affected by these layoffs was none other than Payback. According to Grubb, the game, which was internally referred to as the next Destiny instead of Destiny 3, has been shelved. All right, maybe it was. What is going on? The shelf is Payback. This is what was also leaked and reported to be maybe Destiny 3. Technically not Destiny 3. Internally, they would refer to it as the next Destiny. I don't know if the distinction is there, but they think there's a distinction there. Well, it's the next Destiny. It's Destiny 3, right? Why the distinction? Why? Guys, help me out here. What would be the next Destiny? Let's just read that one more time. What is going on the shelf is Payback. This is what was also leaked and reported to be maybe Destiny 3. Technically not Destiny 3. Internally, they would refer to it as the next Destiny. I don't know if the distinction is there, but they think there's a distinction there. Hold up. The distinction. Internally, they would refer to it as the next Destiny. I think the distinction here is it was not Destiny 3. It was going to be their next game. Probably going to be, a live service, maybe looter shooter. But this game, Payback, whatever it may have been, could have been the game that would have replaced Destiny completely. And there may have never been a D3. Y'all see where I'm coming from? If they're internally calling it Payback and they're calling it the next Destiny, and they're saying that there's a distinction there, it's not D3. They're not calling it a D3. This could have been a complete breakaway and been the next live shooter. It could have been a Destiny universe. It could have been, or it just could have been a completely different game, and Destiny has been tapped out and they said, hey, we got our 10 years. That's our Light and Darkness saga. Time to bounce. Time to move on. This is our next live service looter shooter. And maybe all the things that we learned from Destiny 1, Destiny 2, from those vanilla launches to, almost killing our game multiple times, maybe that's what they meant by Payback. This is how we would have really launched a looter shooter live service game. It's called Payback because it's payback to all you that doubted us. Here's the thing. I understand the developers may have made that statement. Maybe there's some developers that codenamed it Payback for that reason. But in that case, you could have said the final shape was Payback. Everybody doubted that expansion. We all doubted. I doubted it. I doubted that final shape was going to do as well as it did. I mean, that was Payback. I think what Payback could have actually been, it could have been their next big game. It could have been, this is outside of Marathon. It could have been what they did when they would jump from Halo to Destiny. It would have been from Destiny to to this next game. Something occurred here for Bungie to pull back on this, or pull back, completely shelve it, as they said. But that is going on the shelf indefinitely, according to the people I've talked to. Either way, let's be clear, Destiny 3, the next Destiny, is just not the thing they are going to be coming out of this looking toward, let alone working on in any real way. Guys, I've been saying this for a while now. I don't think a D3 is coming. It doesn't make sense. And it's not that a sequel wouldn't sell, but like we've stated in the past, if a D3 came out and it's not something substantially better than Destiny 2 and doesn't improve in literally every way over Destiny 2, then you're going to cut your player base in half, maybe even worse than that. You're going to have a portion of your player base that's going to stay on D2 like they did on D1 and never leave. You have your other portion that actually gives D3 a go. All right, so let's listen to this right now.
Now, what is going on the shelf is Payback. This is what was also leaked and reported to be maybe Destiny 3. Technically not Destiny 3. Internally, they would refer to it as the next Destiny. I don't know necessarily what the distinction is there, Jam, but they think there's a distinction there. But that is going on the shelf indefinitely, according to the people I've talked to. And so either way, like, let's be clear. A Destiny 3 or next Destiny is just not the thing that they are going to be coming out of this looking toward, let alone working on in any real way. And next Destiny is a very good one, chat. Thank you very much. I don't, to me, it sounds like a mess. I don't know.
It sounds like a huge mess, and like these messes start from the top, Grub, right? Like they come from mismanagement across the board, and especially like you are screwing with a developer that has a deep roster of very talented devs.
Is this the article in video form? No, it's the video that the article is on.
And then, like, how do you expect any of them to work at full capacity when most of their teams, peers that they've worked with for years and years, develop deep bonds, and like just like workflows together are now gone suddenly from the company. Like morale's, like you said, it's got to be at an all-time low, and especially when you are trying to solve the problem of Destiny 2 retention and then trying to lure new players, lapsed players back into Destiny 3. That is like that isn't an uphill climb at this point.
Let me ask y'all something. Do you think the success of Final Shape actually caused Bungie to can these other projects? Because let's just be real, Final Shape blew it out of the water. Not just from a review perspective, but money-wise. We don't know the sell numbers for the Final Shape. No, but it was in the top 5 highest revenue games in June. We saw the list yesterday. Let me go back to this article right here. This is what the article is on, though. It's on that podcast right there. The cancellation of Payback raises questions about the future of the Destiny franchise, with Bungie focusing its efforts on supporting Destiny 2 and its upcoming expansions. The decision to halt Payback suggests a shift in the company's strategy. While the details of the canceled project remains under wraps, the community hopes for Destiny 3 have been dashed for the time being. As for Destiny 2, the Final Shape expansion made it into the top 5 highest revenue generating titles for June 2024 per a new report. Yep, we saw those numbers yesterday. Look, man, we could look at this article here from Bungie and just say it's just a bunch of bullshit PR talk that Pete may or may not have even written himself. But again, in this first line right here, it has become clear that we need to make substantial changes to our cost structure and focus development efforts entirely on Destiny and Marathon. How much of Bungie's revenue, or more specifically, because Marathon's not even making money yet, how much of Destiny's revenue was supporting all of the research and development for those side projects? Probably all of it. I would assume all of those other side projects, incubation projects, Payback, Gummy Bears, every single one of those things was sapping money out of what Destiny was bringing in and putting it there. Oh, so you guys say right here, he said, and focus development efforts entirely on Destiny and Marathon, not Destiny 2. Here's the thing. Timelines change a lot and with developers, right? Things get promised that don't come to fruition. How many games in the past decade have you seen that were supposedly going to become a thing and never actually amounted to anything? Obviously, that's different when you have a credible studio. But, Matter was supposed to be a thing, and literally soon after they announced Matter, the explosion of Beyond Light and the success Bungie got with Beyond Light, Bungie canned Matter. And they also opened up a bunch of other incubation projects. I think Bungie put themselves in a position where they overpromised things to Sony, hence the big payout that they got. They said, hey, we're the experts in live service games. We're going to be able to bring you, who knows how many live service games they promised? 4, 5? Too many. They overpromised all these things. And what ended up happening is we got Destiny Lightfall, which fell flat. We got Marathon get delayed, which was a big deal. I mean, that's all the revenue that it could have been earning this year, as it's going to be a live game as well, not earning anything and still heavily in development. And then you have all these other projects that have not been released yet either. So yeah, it's just mismanagement. It's mismanagement, over promising. It's unfortunate. If I was Sony, I would be mad. I don't know if I would be mad. I think what this really needs to point attention to is Destiny is something special. We'll see if Marathon is that special thing. Have you guys, there's a you can go check it. There's like a link out there that shows all the MMOs that have come out in the past 15 years and how many of them have died. It's insane. It's so insane. I literally watched a video on this the other day. It said one of the most irresponsible things you could do as a development studio is make an MMO. And I know that like Destiny is an MMORPG, but it is definitely within that area, right? It's trying to be. It wants to be an MMO, and it definitely has MMO aspects. But what this really needs to bring attention to is just, and probably from Sony's perspective, is just how special Destiny is. And Sony went a little crazy, man. They dropped a lot of money. They went a little crazy. They started investing in games and development studios. And you've seen some great success stories. I think Helldivers has been their greatest success outside of what Destiny consistently does. We'll continue to see how Helldivers does over time. But then you also see stories like Concord, which is another game they heavily invested in. I liked Concord, but a lot of people don't. A lot of you guys fucking hate it. So, you know, it's looking pretty rough for Concord. Well, again, back to the article here from Zahad and the conversation here. Let me just pull up this thing. Hold on.
Let's get into some of these details. Pete Parsons was talking there because Pete Parsons is not leaving. That is the CEO of Bungie, and to say he's disliked seems like at this point a little bit of an understatement.
Yes.
The response to him on Twitter from former Bungie employees, people who had already left and people who were likely laid off in the last round, they mostly hate this guy and they blame him and they think it's mostly his fault. Do you think that a new Bungie can emerge while still under Pete Parsons in any way?
Wholeheartedly, no. Nothing with confidence or any sense of longevity to the team. I would feel, I think as a fledgling new developer breaking into the scene, having Bungie on your resume is going to be incredibly impressive. I just don't know how long that sentence would be, honestly, under Pete Parsons, because, I feel like Destiny 2 made a massive swing back into the audience's like positive side and the good side, and only to hear this not immediately, but like a couple of weeks after that DLC dropped, has got to be gutting. Especially, it's hard to be a Destiny fan. Staying on top of all the lore and whatever is happening constantly in that game. Content lately, far and few between, especially substantial content that hits with majority of the audience and brings any lapsed players back into Destiny. Have you seen, Grub, I think I saw this posted by some ex-Bungie folk, the car auctions?
I saw a little bit of this. The number I saw was like potentially up to $2.3 million in classic car auction wins just by Pete Parsons.
Just by Pete Parsons, yes.
Yeah.
And if a CEO is, I don't know, Pete Parsons' other investments, if he has any, or
dude, it reminds me of what year was it, chat, where all the CEOs were getting new jets? It was like jet craze. Like everybody was getting laid off, and it seemed like all the CEOs were waking up with a new jet. Was that 2020? Every year after COVID? Anyways, for those wondering about Pete Parsons, yes, he for some reason, this is public knowledge, which blows my mind that it's even public. But he had bought about 25 vehicles over the past 2 years, and so yeah, that's when you let go of 17%, including the people you let go last, October, man, you don't need a lot for those guys to be rightfully upset, right? When you're out there are postings of your purchases and you're living life. It doesn't look good, man. I'm sorry, but I do not think it's bad that he makes good money. He's allowed to invest his money. He's not advertising his auction wins. No one's saying he's not allowed to do things. What I am saying is that if you're the captain of a ship, in this case a company, and you're living and eating really, really good in one hand, and in the other hand, you're slashing people's jobs left and right, you know what I mean? You remember the episode where Michael Scott has to let go of somebody by the end of the week and he doesn't know who to let go. And, you know, he's struggling back and forth and he just hopes that someone's going to volunteer to essentially quit. Anyways, he gets the bonus for letting someone go, right? It reminds me of that, but like way worse, right? I also don't think that wealthy people are assholes. Maybe on average, some of them are more entitled. Therefore, they could be assholes for sure. At a certain point, they definitely are. Generally, yes. Here's what I respect. I respect the guy that rolls in. He may be worth, you know, X amount of dollars, extremely successful. And, you know, he rolls in. This guy rolls in. He's a billionaire and he rolls in a little Honda Accord, looked about 10, 12 years old. And when you look at him, you never would have guessed it, man. You just a real low-key kind of guy coming by, checking on the job, checking on everybody. You know what I'm saying? How many kind, wealthy people have you met? Because I can't name any. Again, context is important here. What do you define as wealthy? You know, are we talking, I mean, I have not personally met any billionaires, and I don't know any of them on a personal level. You know, maybe there is a correlation. Maybe the higher one's net worth goes, the bigger asshole they become. Maybe. But I have met people that have done well in their lives, and they have, you know, they are very nice people. Actually, one guy who was kind of a mentor to me, one of the best advice he ever gave me was, he says one of the best things you can do with your money is give, which doesn't make sense because we were talking about like investing, like so we're talking, you know, mutual funds, T-bills, bonds, and stuff like that. But he just kind of threw that in there. He's like, one of the best things you could do, and I know no one's, maybe he's full of shit. You know where I'm coming from? His claim was one of the best things you could do, one of the best investments you can do is giving your wealth away. Granted, he was like at a later point in his life. He was like 80. There's a study that CEOs tend to have more psychopathic tendencies than the general population. Yeah, I can agree. I can believe that. I can believe it. All right, let's continue to listen to this.
For his other projects or his bank account. But if a CEO is making that much money to be participating in fancy used old car auctions, I think the problem doesn't lie at the bottom line that he is cutting and gutting.
Yeah.
It lies at the top. And this is the pattern we've seen like across the board with majority of these layoffs, right, Grub? Like the people at the top, the CEOs, whatever C-suite people don't want to take the accountability to that anything underperforming or being too costly is on their part. It's always, the problem is always the people that are actually making the games, which does not make sense.
Yeah, and especially in this case where, you know, a lot of that money for Pete Parsons likely came from selling to Sony in the first place, where, you know, he had a huge stake in Bungie likely and was able to get, I don't know. It would have surprised me if his compensation alone was $500 million or something like that as part of that deal or something like that. It could be that high. So he's got a lot of money sitting around there.
Good God, really?
He's going to spend on and that stuff, whatever. But when he made that deal, he was making promises on behalf of all of Bungie and put them in a situation that led to this. This is all due to him being like, we can meet these demands from Sony that we need to make in order to maintain our independence, which was not just important to him, it was important to everyone at Bungie. That's why everyone kind of went along with it, because they were going to be able to maintain their independence. And the only way they wouldn't be able to do that is if they had some sort of catastrophic failure or the initial numbers were too high. And frankly, they promised too much, because
exactly, man.
Destiny 2 is in a situation where it can have success. It had success. Lightfall did pretty well. And then the final.
Yeah, even though Lightfall wasn't received well, it still sold very well. Yet somehow Bungie missed. How much did the revenue miss? Was it 40 some percent? They missed it by 45%. Oh my God. Yeah, I'm just saying, I think Bungie overpromised. I mean, and look, here's the thing. If you wanted the big payout, you would overpromise, you know? You'd be like, yeah. I can see it right now. I would literally pick up the phone and be like, this is 2020, talking to someone. Hey man, so you see this game I'm making over here, Destiny? Beyond Light's popping. Here's what I can do for you. In the next 5 years, I can bring you 7 live service games, including a D3. Oh yeah, we wrote the book on live services. We got this shit. Easy, man. Done. As a matter of fact, I just got through playing D3 just a second ago. Yeah, it's ready to go out the door. We're getting through this light and darkness thing, you know what I mean? Going to wrap up the lore and the story, and then we're shipping it. So what's your offer? Because I need a lot of money. I mean, That's it. And I mean, I don't know if Sony like came over and like maybe tried it out for a second, but I don't want to say that's what I would have done. But if I was recommending what someone should do if they're trying to get the biggest payout possible, that would be it.
Final shape is critically beloved. People thought this is the best Destiny 2's ever been. But if you look at the numbers, like I put a chart here at the bottom of this story jam from SteamDB, which is, you can see that Lightfall came out in like, that's around early 2023, and the number of concurrent users on Steam peaked. And then we see just now at this D mark here, the image you're looking at, Jan, is when the Final Shape came out, and it's about as high as Lightfall. It's basically right in line. They had the same performance in the market as Lightfall.
Let's be clear. It actually, the numbers for Final Shape, its peak numbers would have been higher had the servers held up. The servers they were not prepared for how many people wanted to play the damn game. And I wonder if we could have broke 400, maybe 500,000. Lightfall, we got into the game, I want to say within 20 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes. Final Shape, we didn't get into the game until, oh my God, it was crazy. It was like 3-4 hours. Some people went even longer than that. And for like 2 days there, people were having issues logging in. So, and even with that bad of a launch and how bad the servers were, somehow the expansion was still received well. It's crazy.
And it's they have the players that are playing Destiny now, and they did not shape this game in any real way to be like, this is a relaunch. This is going to be an onboarding event for new people to come in. This is paying off a years-long event. This is the culmination of 10 years of storytelling and all that stuff. It is going to be very hard to attract new players at that time, and this is when they needed to be growing to be able to keep up with the deal that they made with Sony. So when you have 600 people, and Bungie did have pretty decent compensation, like pretty generous compensation packages relatively compared to the rest of the industry, and then you spend 4 more months on the Final Shape compared to what you spent on Lightfall, and then you get the same performance. And really, it's kind of a little bit worse because it is declining faster than what Lightfall did in terms of concurrent players. You could see that it's a recipe for this sort of thing. And after keeping the right people, which is something that Pete Parsons said to employees last time during the last round of layoffs, and then they come out and make a great game, and it performs in line with what the expectations should have been.
Yeah, let me just say, Pete is not doing himself any favors. Like I don't know Pete, but I wonder who is in Pete's corner when you say, after cutting off people and letting go of people, we've kept the right people. You know what I'm saying? Like, who's the advisor around here? A lot of people bought Final Shape to finish the saga and say goodbye to the series. Yeah. As far as like the numbers that he's talking about, has there been a steeper decline? Maybe there has. I mean, we are basing this off of one metric, that being the Steam chart numbers. But yeah, I'm sure a lot of people just came and finished out the saga, and now everyone's just kind of sitting around wondering, okay, what's next? And so, when you're wondering what's next with a game like Destiny, well, you're not going to invest in the base game until you know what's next.
And then everyone gets laid off because it didn't do something magical. That is clearly mismanagement by Pete Parsons and the whole executive leadership team. So, and now, to be fair, people on the leadership team are getting laid off. There are like the chief business officer. There's a handful of people from the C-suite level that are getting laid off. It's just not Pete Parsons, and that's why.
Who do we have a list? Do we have a list of people that got laid off? Let's listen to that one more time.
To be fair, people on the leadership team are getting laid off. There are like the chief business officer. There's a handful of people from the C-suite level that are getting laid off. It's just not Pete Parsons, and that's why people are being like, "Step down, Pete. You should just resign." And I don't think it's out of the question because Bungie is moving under PlayStation Studios, and maybe once that transition happens, Sony will cut him.
It's probably a bunch of people we may not even heard about either. You know what I'm saying? All right, so Pete steps down. If Pete does step down, which I doubt he will, but if he does, who would take his place? Who would you want as CEO? I don't know who would take over as CEO. Who we would even want. I mean, personally, I would want someone that has actually worked at the ground level on Destiny for a number of years, maybe even directed Destiny expansions. Joe. I think Joe would be, if you question whether or not Joe would be a good CEO, at least he would be accountable, because Joe didn't hide behind just typed up PR messages. He got in front of a camera. He looked at us and said where he messed up and did everything he could to correct him.
I don't know.
Either way, when Pete Parsons leaves, the sore spot for me is that he's going to get a generous package as he exits the company.
Oh, sure.
Either way, whether.
Okay, so let me understand corporate America real quick. I'm just a Southern boy who doesn't know a whole lot here. You get fired, but you still get all this money, even if you get fired and did a shit job. So you run the company into the ground. You do a terrible job. I'm not saying this is what's happening, but say CEO over here runs the company in the ground. Every decision that he made over the past 4 or 5 years has led to the demise of this company. Yet he walks away with all the money that he was going to get, whether or not the company. Where's the incentive to succeed then? If you get the same amount of money either way, where's the incentive to do better? Oh, bonuses. Oh, you miss out on the bonuses. Maintaining CEO is the incentive. Oh, okay. So it's an ego thing to be able to be the CEO. Right? Obviously, right? But it doesn't hurt your bank. You walk away and you're good. You got at least a bunch of money. And it happened to Bobby when he left Activision. He got a ton of money. All right, let's continue.
He gets cut from Sony or PlayStation from a top level, or he decides to leave on his own accord. He's going to have a generous compensation package as he exits, despite gutting the company and displacing hundreds of people. And now, especially across the board in different levels of Bungie. Right? Like I hate whenever we have a massive round of layoffs, just seeing people pop up on Twitter saying like, I've been at this company for X amount of years. And you see like the loyalty from like those employees. You see how much working at Bungie, working at X Studio meant to them, only for the rugs to get pulled underneath them. Like, and it absolutely stinks, Grub.
Yep.
It's great to see that Destiny 2 is able to like reach that same number of players, but like the drop off is so immediate. And you know, like maybe pouring those same people, if you didn't let them go, could sustain that player count for an extended period of time. But I feel like the Destiny 2 audience is just going to keep coming back for like maybe a big event like this and then drop off immediately. And I don't know if like those spikes are going to keep Destiny 2 healthy, or even if that playership there is going to translate eventually to Marathon. And now I worry about Marathon's launch as a whole.
Yep. And, clearly we like the thing that can get new players in is something like a Destiny 3. But let's talk about that quote from Pete Parsons where it's, let's see what at the end there. We need to focus development efforts entirely on Destiny and Marathon. So what does that mean? Well, basically, they are going to continue working on Marathon and Destiny 2. They're going to keep making new content for Destiny 2. Now, when it comes to Destiny 2, the expectation, I believe internally, is that the future content will be lighter, smaller, to take less time than what the final shape did, require fewer people. So there will be expansions and updates, but they will be sort of not a shell of their former selves, but they'll definitely have that vibe about them. And then Marathon, go ahead.
That's definitely not what the Destiny 2 audience wants or has been conditioned to expect. Do they know? Are they waiting for things to blow up in their face, Scrub?
I don't know. I feel like they're in that one of those rocks and hard places where they feel like they don't have enough to like start something new and then they feel like they have to make money now and to like shift to Destiny. Like they are not ready to go to Destiny 3. We'll talk about it more here in a second, but they are not ready to do that. And so it's like, it's got to be on Marathon. That's still years away, but they are going to keep working on that.
I don't know about that. I'm pretty sure Marathon is coming out next year. Unless something has changed up behind the scenes. I'm almost certain Marathon is coming out next year.
That's the next big release that they're hoping will hit. So God, a lot's riding on that. And you feel like things could blow up in their face when it comes to that if it doesn't go the right way. Now, Bungie's still a very talented team. They still will have a lot of talented people there. But morale's got to be low, and believing that Marathon is the answer to all their problems is likely something that no one there actually believes. So, yeah, Destiny 2 continuing to go, probably starting up some new seasons or whatever, and being the primary going concern is going to be number one, and then Marathon being right there, having a lot of people working on that. There was that third game, Gummy Bears, which did leak a while ago. It was when it leaked, it was a MOBA-like game, and that is.
so random. Look, I don't know who like okayed and greenlit all these projects at Bungie, but like who there suddenly stood up and said, hey, with all of our talent and history of game development, we now know what we must create next. A MOBA. Okay, let's get this right. Marathon, first person shooter. Oni, first person shooter. Oni was first person shooter, right? No. Was Marathon a first person shooter? What was the original Marathon? It was third person? Okay. All right. We'll start with Oni, right? I thought Oni was a first-person shooter. Halo, 1, first-person shooter. 2, first-person shooter. Actually, every game, first-person shooter. All right, then they got a little crazy. They made Destiny, also a first-person shooter. And then Destiny 2, also a first-person shooter. When you have been making nothing but first-person shooters for the past 2-3 decades, who the hell stands up and goes, yeah, I think it's time we're going to make a MOBA. Let's take on League of Legends right now. It's a looter shooter. I know Destiny's a looter shooter, but it's still a first-person shooter.
Is spinning out onto a new team that will be under PlayStation, Sony Interactive Entertainment, but they will be in an office that's still in like Bungie's offices, that sort of thing. That also doesn't feel like an answer, but that's not under Bungie anymore, right? That's under PlayStation Studios. It's out.
Okay, hold on. So Sony Interactive Entertainment is going to have a portion of Bungie Studios. Oh my God, the takeover is literally right in front of us. How much more they literally, if that's true, and they have moved in and got their offices set up there
outside of Bungie, but they are not closing that down. Now, what is going on the shelf is Payback. This is what was also leaked and reported to be maybe Destiny 3. Technically not Destiny 3. Internally they would refer to it as the next Destiny. I don't know necessarily what the distinction is there, Jam, but they think there's a distinction there. But that is going on the shelf indefinitely, according to the people I've talked to. And so either way, like, let's be clear. A Destiny 3 or next Destiny is just not the thing that they are going to be coming out of this looking toward, let alone working on in any real way. And next Destiny is a very good one, chat. Thank you very much. I don't, to me, it sounds like a mess. I don't know.
It sounds like a huge mess, and like these mess.
Yeah, I don't have any information on Payback, whatever Payback was, whether it was in fact a D3, if it was going to be the next Destiny, maybe the next live service looter shooter that might exist in the Destiny universe, maybe not. Maybe it was in fact going to be the Destiny killer, but I don't know. It was a rumor of a rumor. There you go. I will say Jason Momoa here has a little more information though than what we've seen in like previous rumored tweets and Reddit threads, right? So it sounds like he has a little more information and he's not dropping it right now.
Messes start from the top, Grub, right? Like they come from mismanagement across the board, and especially like you are screwing with a developer that has a deep roster of very talented devs, and then like how do you expect any of them to work at full capacity when most of their teams, peers that they've worked with for years and years, develop deep bonds, and like just like workflows together are now gone suddenly from the company. Like morale's, like you said, it's got to be at an all-time low, and especially when you are trying to solve the problem of Destiny 2 retention and then trying to lure new players, lapsed players back into Destiny 3. That is like that isn't an uphill climb at this point, Grub. You are climbing up a greasy, oily ladder at this point. And I don't know about you, but I don't normally like to do that.
Yeah, I try to avoid that wherever possible. Let me just clarify a few things here from my notes and from some stuff. Let's see here. Yeah, those expansions for Destiny 2, expansions, they're not even using that term internally anymore. They're calling them content packs. So like that should put it into perspective, like what you should expect.
Oh my Lord. Oh God, say it ain't so, man. Say it ain't so, dude.
From Destiny 2 going forward. They want Destiny 2 to keep being a thing, but the investment level is going to pare back in a significant way. Meanwhile, they still think Marathon is actually coming out in 2025. So I'm correcting that, right? I said years away, 2025. And I'm told that expectations are sky high. They are enormous for that game. So that goes back to that leadership of what are you telling PlayStation? And then what are you putting on the line? What's the collateral that you are betting and putting on the table that gets lost if you don't hit those expectations. And based on the what's happened time and time again now with Bungie under PlayStation, probably.
I have not played Marathon. To my knowledge, it is going to be a hero-based extraction shooter. The way content rollout will be for that game, it appears, it's rumored, that it'll be very similar to how Destiny is. And there will never be any direct overlap with Destiny. There's not supposed to be any major overlaps in content drops for Marathon and Destiny. They'll stagger each other. As in, you don't expect to see an annual expansion or Marathon rollout alongside directly competing against Destiny. It definitely seems like they're trying to target a different market other than Destiny players. And despite it being an extraction looter shooter, right? But they want to deliver this AAA quality extraction shooter. That's what they're wanting to deliver. And from what I've been told different things. I've been told that, you know, Tarkov streamers didn't like it or weren't necessarily interested in playing it if they were, you know, when asked the question if the game rolled out a beta or something like that, would they be interested in playing it? I've also been told there's some unique factors that Marathon possesses that no other extraction shooter possesses. Don't know what that is. Didn't get any more information than that. But yeah, Bungie has a lot of high hopes for this game. Not sure what that's going to equate to.
I would have to imagine there are rumblings within PlayStation. They made this huge investment in buying and acquiring Bungie because they knew how much of an asset it could be, only to see, you know, player count dwindling and then now all of this like negative buzz about the company prior to even to this round of layoffs. Like, still, I feel like we were feeling the effects of the last round of layoffs. Mm-hmm. And the only thing to kind of like put that to bed was the positive reception to the last DLC that came out for Destiny 2. And now this happens again. I got to feel that people at PlayStation, they have to be upset at this mismanagement, right? Like they have to step in at some point. And maybe they're stepping in ever so slightly with like the little gummy bear team. Well, I hate that is the most intriguing thing from this.
They're stepping in a big way, though. I mean, by shifting Bungie under PlayStation, that's something we talked a little bit more about yesterday, and then I talked about on Twitter. Yeah, Herman Holtz now fully runs Bungie. He's not like taking over Pete Parsons' role. He's not the CEO of Bungie or something like that. But like any other studio, Bungie now exists under Sony Interactive Entertainment's PlayStation Worldwide Studios banner, and that clearly is going to be very different. That means they have to answer to PlayStation in a way that, like, just a little bit ago, every PlayStation studio was answering to Bungie. Like, if they had a live service thing, it's like, hey, is your live service thing good enough? Well, here's Bungie to tell you no or yes.
Oh, my Lord.
Dude, that's a terrible thing. Yeah. God dog it, man. The leverage they had beforehand, they were the company that was vetting other live service games and give them the quality pass. Hence why some of them actually got shut down. And here's the thing. I think there's a lot of great wisdom from the developers at Bungie that other live service games could draw immense value from. But where everything gets crazy is in the numbers, man. And that just boils down to mismanagement. That's the other thing too. If you had to coin why Sony bought Bungie, what would it be for? Would it be for all these other incubation projects? Would it be for, you know, the ability to quality test other live service games that Sony wanted to push out? Would it be for Destiny 2, Marathon, a Destiny 3, the Tiger Engine, the uniqueness of the Destiny IP, and the talent of the studio? It's worth noting, though, that PlayStation lets their teams cook for a long time, and whilst the expectation for Destiny Marathon as live service games will be different, so long as Sony allows the freedom to achieve that, I think the dev teams under Sony and not Pete could end up as a positive in the long run. Let's continue.
Is Pete Parsons' response single-handedly responsible for the Last of Us project being shelved and Concord making the green light?
I mean, it definitely seems like that's a big part of it. Now, whether that's like Pete Parsons showing up or not, I have no idea.
No, I'm gonna blame him.
Yeah,
I'm gonna blame him.
Yeah, that seems fair. But
I would say if you're the CEO, I mean, that's kind of like accountability. I mean, who else would the accountability fall on? You know what I'm saying? I feel like if you're a CEO of a game development company, you should come in, controller in hand, sit down and go, all right, let me play it. Let me see it. All right, this feels like shit. This plays like shit. Or, that's amazing. Oh. I don't know. I just feel like since that's literally your job, like that's what you're supposed to be doing. I don't know if Pete's doing that. I don't know. But the CEO needs to play the game. No, that's not his job. The CEO should be running the business and trusting your game experts. That's how you get fucked in life, in my opinion. Yeah, you can have trust, but you can also just go test the product. And if you're just picking up the phone going, so-and-so said it's good, I'm gonna go back to looking at cars. You know, that doesn't work out. And I'm not saying that's what Pete's doing. I don't know what Pete does. I don't know how he runs the company. He's CEO, not a play tester. Here's the thing, guys. Going and testing the product out and seeing if the game is genuinely good or not, to me is a no-brainer. What do you think he should be doing? Because if you're talking about just managing the books, you got the fucking CFO to do that shit. CEO could easily drop down and see things from the ground up. If they did what you said, a lot of games would be canceled. The CEO of Boeing doesn't need to be a pilot to run the company. Brother, don't be talking about Boeing right now. You want to give me a different company example? Because Boeing ain't doing hot. I would say the CEO needs to have extensive knowledge. Okay, you don't have to know how to do everything from the ground up. But by God, you need to be able to talk to anyone on the ground level and know what the fuck is going on if you're CEO. That's just my opinion. You ought to know how the system works, how it's ran, and be able to relate to the people on ground level, even if you yourself have not done literally every single aspect to the level that person does. Because at that point, what the fuck are you doing? A gaming CEO should be from that industry. What are some CEOs you guys know of that you admire or loathe? The Nintendo guy? The Nintendo guy. The No Man's Sky CEO? Yeah. Nvidia CEO? Dude, Nvidia CEO, man. I tell you what, he sells it, dude. He sells it. They keep pumping that shit up, but he knows his stuff. You know, he sits there, he's able to have full-blown conversation about the product. All right, let's continue.
We do know the Last of Us Factions game was like, big part of that was Bungie showed up, was like this, there's some issues here. And there almost certainly were. There almost certainly were going to be problems with that game running as a live service, but they showed up and highlighted them, and Sony, I don't know if they panicked or something, but they definitely pulled back from that game because of that. So yeah, it's a mess is what it is. And I feel for everyone that is going to have to try to push through this. There's the 220 people who are just cut. There's 150-ish people that are being moved from Bungie over to Sony Interactive Entertainment. And I bet a lot of those people are like, wait, what does that look like?
What does that mean?
What am I doing? What job do I am I really going to be protected here? Yes. What does that mean? It's got to be very confusing. And again, having just, a couple of mistakes made by people at the
or the other way. What if moving to Sony, those guys, imagine working in the same studio as Bungie. You've got one side, you got a portion of the studio that's working for SIE, and then you got another portion of the rest of the studio working for Bungie. What if more layoffs occur on the Bungie side, and all of a sudden, Bungie is no longer the safe haven. Sony is the safe haven. Now you're about to have a bunch of Bungie employees, probably, they may even be looking to go work for Sony at that point.
The top who are too busy buying cars instead, and having that it rip apart so many people's lives one way or the other, either losing their jobs or being shifted around and whipped around to some other department. That is rough stuff. And I just don't know how. I mean, I think part of when I look at the player numbers of Destiny on Steam, I think people are just the morale of the community seems low. They're like, well, I don't want to play that, God. And then but I'm going to invest my time in that, and they're just going to give me content packs going forward. It feels like a death spiral.
It feels like a death spiral, especially when there are other games as a service, live service games out there that are, I don't want to say taking care of their community, but at least addressing the needs in a more dynamic way than Bungie's been able to because of.
Man, I have tried, dude. I'm not saying there aren't other live service games, and some of y'all are going to be like, oh, Cross just deep throwing Destiny again. But man, there are so many shitty live service games out there, dude. I can't tell how many times I try a game out, and I'm like, and then immediately I'm met with just terrible quality, and I'm just like, and then I drag my ass back to Destiny, dude.
All of the shit happening there, Grub. Refresh my memory, please. What is Marathon supposed to be?
An extraction shooter.
Why?
Yeah, because that's the buzzword. Yeah, I don't know. I think listen, Marathon.
Hold on, a hero-based extraction shooter.
Originally on Mac, a game I think I played when it got ported to something once. It was a first-person shooter, an early first-person shooter, and now and then 2 years ago when they were starting to talk about this, I bet a lot of people from the Bungie team were playing Tarkov, and they're like, we could do the Bungie version of this, and there's still some promise there. I feel like Call of Duty Warzone was like clearly, yeah, there was Fortnite. Clearly, Fortnite right away cracked the nut on having a very broadly appealing battle royale game. But Call of Duty Warzone was the one that's like, and here's like, it's just like arcadey and it's for that Call of Duty audience and all that stuff.
Okay.
There is a world in which Bungie could be the one that like crack that nut on extraction shooters for that audience as well. But who knows? It's expectations seem like they're even higher than like what it would look like if they did that.
You know, when I talk to people, especially folks that are heavily embedded in Tarkov, they actually say they want a AAA quality experience for an extraction shooter. The issue is 2025 too late? Is this something that made sense 3 years ago? And it was supposed to come out this year, but now we're saying 2025, and hopefully there's no other delays. No, because on the console space, there's no extraction shooter. Oh, what if Marathon really, like, what if it ends up being a hit? I think the real question for 2025, when is GTA 6 supposed to be coming out? Okay, some people are saying fall. A lot of people are saying no one knows. Here's my suggestion. If you're going to drop Marathon in 2025, I would do everything in my power to get it out before GTA 6. And I know it's like two different games, right? But I just think GTA 6 is really going to soak things up. Just get it out, I would say, at least 3 months. I think all the other shooter genres are becoming played out. It's oversaturated, and it's going to be hard to get people playing those other extraction, hero, battle royale shooters to convert. Dude, it's kind of like MMORPGs, man. You know why it's so hard to bring a new MMORPG to the market? Because so many players are just embedded in their current MMORPG. They've got their account and player that they've been leveling up for years and committing time to. They've got a community or a clan or a guild that they're already committed to, and friends that are playing that game. Dude, people are just embedded, man. And I think shooters, there's going to be a lot of that as well. People are embedded already. It's really hard to get those conversions. For those wondering what the conclusion to this discussion is, essentially this: whatever Payback was, whether it was D3, the next Destiny, the Destiny killer, it has been shelved. And it seems like all the focus is, if we were to take what Bungie says, all the focus is going to be on a D2, or they say Destiny, but D2, and Marathon. All right, guys. For those that are coming in here right now, and we'll be covering whatever it is that Jason Schreier is going to be giving us tomorrow. You know, the question that today has brought with the articles there from Destiny Bulletin, and also the interview that we watched there, or the podcast that we watched this morning. There was rumors that Payback was Destiny 3. But from Jason here, just to clear up some rumors floating around, Destiny 3 was not canceled because it was never in development, per people familiar. Bungie did some very early work on a spin-off project called Payback, but they canceled that a while ago. I'll have a story tomorrow with more information. He even replied up right here under this. He says, correct. So regardless, Payback is not happening. He says, correct, but Payback was a totally different spin-off project that was canceled a while before these layoffs. Okay. This is fake news. Let's just see what he has to say tomorrow. Okay. I've been in the camp this entire time that believed D3 was not being worked on because it just didn't make sense. It didn't, not that I wouldn't want a Destiny 3. What I meant when I say it didn't make sense knowing how spread thin the studio already was. When you have Marathon being developed, Destiny 2 being developed, Gummy Bears being developed, you know, to spread that out even more and have people working on a D3, it just didn't make sense. But again, we'll see what he has to say.
Slap that like button like your mama told you right.